Welcome to my very first director's commentary slash how I storytell in wedding films. I get a lot of people asking me just my editing techniques, and then also just like my storytelling is the biggest thing that I usually have couples reach out, and the way that like B-roll is paired with dialogue.
Some of the videos that I saw have like a script, like I said. They have like, okay, we're going to start here, we're going to start here, we're going to shoot this is next. I like how yours is different parts of it, yet it fits together so perfectly that you feel like you're watching literally a movie. And when Sam and I saw it together last night, we were like, this is it. This is the one, she's the one. But seriously, I'm just like praying. But yes, your work is absolutely breathtaking. Like, no words describe how you edit.
So what I'm going to do today is I am actually going to look back at a film that we did. It was a destination wedding in North Carolina, and it was for two friends of ours that have actually become very close to us. Their names are Stephanie and Mike, and I just adore their wedding. I would say that this is like our ideal wedding to film. I love just the location, the imagery, their relationship, just their values and everything. So I really dove deep in, their edit when, I made their wedding film. I would say the biggest impact is how well I know the couple before the wedding day. And I know that sounds like a luxury, but I actually sent a questionnaire to all of our couples before their wedding day. And this is just amazing when it comes to learning the ins and outs of their relationship, maybe hurdles they've overcome together, what their values are, what they really want their wedding film to highlight. This is like step number one before we even go into filming a wedding day. And of course, before we take all that footage and turn it into an edit. Actually, before I jump in, some intro ideas to storytelling that I always like to keep in the back of my head. One of the bigger picture ideas that I like to keep in my mind is that maybe family members that may never meet Stephanie and Mike, or another couple, it's just like, this is a wedding film that can get passed down in their family. It can tell grandkids like about their great-grandparent or about their grandparents or great-grandparents, and maybe they've never met them in real life, but I want a wedding film like this to be so personalized about their story and like where their family's legacy kind of all started, in a way that will really just make the viewer feel like, wow, I know these people now. Like, I know what they went through. I know what they're excited about. I know what they care about. I know, what their values are. And, because then the rest is history, sort of. So overall, I want a viewer of their wedding film who may not know them or has never met them, fall in love with them, their story, and overall just really feel like they do know them at the end of the film. And I really want to just make the viewer care about these two characters, these two people. How do you make someone care? Well, often than not, we as human beings, we kind of thrive on understanding what humanizes them. So in the very beginning of the film, in all my films, I usually like to do something I usually like to open with something that feels dramatic, suspenseful, visually striking, accompanied with something that hints towards a conflict, something that hints towards a hurdle that they had to overcome before they even got to this moment. So you'll see that as we start to dive into the film. Throughout the film, it's a lot of character building. It's a lot of, pairing of dialogue that has depth, but also pairing that with footage and B-roll that is obviously stunning. And you'll notice that I don't often use too many of your typical getting ready moments of the bride and groom, but I like the moments that can still add to the story and really highlight especially the amount of detail and planning that goes into the details of a wedding. So Yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. I'm gonna go ahead and pop over to my laptop view here. Right from the get-go, something very striking imagery setting the scene. We're at Twickenham House. Twickenham House is a estate in the mountains, and it's just a really beautiful estate that's tucked away, feels very private. And this was a wedding over New Year's of 2021. And it was actually super rainy, so that's why, I wanted to really paint the picture, which you saw after the opening scene, where there was a little bit of like the twigs with like a water droplet. It's just a very, very small detail, but these are the details that start to paint the picture to the viewer. And you don't want to give all of the story away right from the beginning. There's really no rules to storytelling, but my style is I like to kind of hint towards conflict and, what is setting the scene.
The people in this room actually stayed with us this entire weekend. There were very few that weren't able to do that. So a lot of you people know how grateful I am for every single one of you.
Talking about the struggle it was.
What's happening? Jeez, here we go.
To get everyone up there. This is the conflict I'm talking about that builds the story, builds to the day. All right, so right then and there, I showed a little bit of the days leading up to the wedding day. We actually stayed a couple days with them before, because we knew a lot of like the guests and the wedding party, just because me and Stephanie, actually, we met through a women's Bible study group. And so I luckily knew like a lot about her story before, even filming her wedding day. Like I loved to capture just kind of the casual hanging out moments before the wedding day. And actually you'll see I'm going to get into showing how it was New Year's. And also New Year's Day is Mike, the groom's birthday. So I really wanted to highlight that as well. So this was like this was a pretty tasking project, just because there was a lot of special occasions that I wanted to kind of put into this one film, but I really love how it turned out, and the feedback I got from them was just really special because they just loved how I captured the entire weekend versus just wedding day. Like it was their entire wedding weekend and story and everything that they put so much time and energy and money into to like make this such a special occasion. So, all right, let's go ahead and continue on. This shot right here, I played with it for a while, but again, I really wanted a unique way to paint the picture of where we were and how Mike just spoke of the traveling up to where they were, which you can see up on the top left. It says Twickenham House, but like the road that led up to it. And this right here was actually a map that they had custom made on their invitation suite and their stationery. So I was like, again, put something really unique from their wedding that they put time and energy and detail into. And these are the things that always really matter. And doing it in a unique way, like this is the first time I had ever done this. So I really encourage people to try to use the tools that you have at hand to visualize how you can create something that's different and maybe never used before in one of your films. All right, so one day earlier than the wedding day. I wanted to highlight that this was New Year's, and I actually, this shot here that I put kind of like a super 35 or super 8 millimeter effect on. I did this in post, but this was actually a video I just took from my phone, and I propped it up because I didn't want to, like, on New Year's, like, we were all dressed up and just having a good time, and I really wanted to make sure that and Steph really was like, I want to make sure that you guys feel like you are a part of like the wedding as a guest more than you are working it. So I was like, don't worry, we love this stuff, and I'm going to be filming even before the wedding day. So we definitely made sure to kind of like get these little bits of footage, like I said, before the wedding day, because I love, and like what we specialize in is telling love story films, which I like to call them, versus wedding day films or wedding films, because a story is so much more meaningful when you're highlighting an entire connection between someone and showing more of like everyday love and everyday connection, and what two people kind of look like and act like outside of the formalities of a wedding day timeline. So that being said, that is like my motto, and I'm just like all about that. So we do all of our wedding films this way. But yeah, definitely wanted to keep it low key. This was just my phone propped up on the mantle, and I happened to catch a little bit of their first kiss for 2021 here on my phone. And I just had to use this. And then Chris was like walking around them kind of like as they gave each other a kiss just with his phone. So that previous shot was also Chris's phone. Let's continue.
Hey, baby. So I know that you think that everyone's down here.
Okay, so you can already tell Mike is getting emotional, and that's his mom sitting right behind him, just admiring them too, which is something I love about video, is because you can take a freeze frame moment like this, pause it, and just take it in like you would a photo, right? And it's like you can see this moment. People are looking at Mike as he's realizing that prior to the wedding, Mike and Steph thought they were filming a little selfie video to kind of thank everyone for coming all that way to their wedding. But actually, what she had in mind was that she was surprising Mike with everyone submitting a video saying happy birthday to him, because she didn't want the wedding weekend and the occasion to overshadow his birthday and making him feel special. So I just love how this shot right here, this freeze frame, captures how people, like his mom, for example, which I personally think for birthdays, you should be celebrating your mom versus yourself in ways. But so his mom, she's looking at her little boy and just being like, wow, like that's my son and it's his birthday. And he doesn't even see her, behind him. But yeah, it's just like a really special moment, and it was a special surprise for Mike, and he got really emotional. But like, yeah, we all sent these little videos in to Steph, and that was all just off-camera audio, ambient, and really just handheld running gun style to feel raw. All right, so now we're at the wedding day. Again, invitation suite. Just some little shots in the morning.
Says I love you. Today, tomorrow, forever. I'm so glad my heart found yours. Good morning, beautiful. So it's finally...
So now we're painting the picture. It's wedding day, and I'm using the audio from the card that Mike gave Steph. And again, it's just highlighting the anticipation leading up to this day. All of your hard work is paying off to like today, So I love to layer the details of wedding day stuff with words and dialogue that's painting the picture, and like how much hard work went into the day, and how much planning, and of course, you'll see there's a little bit of humor and lightheartedness throughout, because I think like I have a very lighthearted take on things, but at the same time, it's like a lighthearted exterior, but also with depth is pretty much the constant theme throughout a lot of my films and storytelling style. So yeah, let's continue.
Grateful I am to have you in my life. You really are my best friend, and I can't wait to stand up there with you today and promise the rest of my life to you.
He had some amazing details, that,
Anyway,
like his
I
shoes
hope
and
you
everything.
aren't stressing right now, and that you soak all this in. It's going to be
Soak all this in. Felt like it was fitting, you know, with the whiskey.
I love you, baby. Your soon-to-be hubby.
Transitioning with some
Michael.
atmospheric shots.
I'm a believer of love. I believe in its magic and its magnificent power.
Love, you know, she loves kids and
In fact,
loves her
there was only
family,
one
so I
moment in my
really
life
wanted
that
to
I
show
tried
this
to
off.
convince myself to stop believing. I sat down with the big man upstairs and I told him how I felt. I told God that love was great for everyone else, but that I was done.
And you know, like, I wanted to use that shot just there of like her, kind of the reflection of her in the mirror was a really nice way of like overlaying with the dialogue of, I sat down with the big man upstairs and I told him how I felt and how I was done, I think is what she said. And that's like a reflective statement. When you're praying, you're reflecting and you're one with God. So why not have a reflection symbolically of her in the mirror? So these are shots that you can't plan these out really, like wedding day. And somehow when you're editing and you're troubleshooting and you're in your creative, you know, mindset, you see these shots and then you want to keep the dialogue in your brain and think like, okay, this is what's these are the shots that are working with this dialogue.
And then you walked in. And the whole world could hear God laughing.
A little bit of the dress details.
You were the most beautiful woman I had ever seen.
He's speaking of her beauty, so of course I'm gonna put in some
This is tough, man.
humor. Of course I'm gonna put shots and bridles of her
As the weeks pressed on, we hung out more and more. I knew after the first
hanging
night
out.
at
I want to show
Tuesdays,
friends.
and then spending literally all night talking in the Jeep, that you were the one that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with.
It feels right. It just feels right.
When you know, you know.
And again, like that was just a perfect segue of ambient audio and ambient dialogue, because he said, you know, I just knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you. And then he's having this conversation when he was getting ready with his best man, saying, when you know, you know. He wasn't talking about Steph at that point. I think he was talking about something else. Just like guys chatting about something else. But the great thing is that that one little splice out of context, it fit the overarching story of the dialogue that we're working with here.
The only way I can think to describe your love is the perfect mirror of God's love for me.
So she spoke a lot of like Christ and God in their relationship and how that played a role in her marriage, or now her marriage, and finding him. So I really wanted to highlight something that felt a little bit more abstract and artsy as we segued into a new portion of the video. And so now you can hear as the music is building, we're building up to the climax. The climax is like, you know, usually the most emotional part of the wedding day. Think of what was the most emotional part of the wedding day, and then that's what we're gonna, you know, climax to.
So little, because as you know, Mike is very extravagant, right? I mean, look at this. This is beautiful, right? And one day I'm on Facebook and I see Stephanie's post, and she posts that she comes home from a rough day of work to flowers left in her apartment.
Flowers at her apartment.
That move mountains. And for Mike, it's the little things that is what I know is important to him.
It's the little things. And then I want to show a tiny little detail they had of their dogs, Jack and Frank, and then segue and show a cameo of them. This, I had to put this in here. This was a surprise first look that Steph and her dad did right before the ceremony started. Chris was down at the bottom of the hill and I was already up at the top. So we didn't know that this was going to happen. We didn't plan for it, but luckily Chris was just down there already and he had a mic on his camera and he was able to capture enough ambient audio just off camera like this. Just a lot of emotion that her father's holding back.
Airborne Rangers don't act this way.
A little bit of
I
humor.
promise to continue to let you think that you're winning at our punch buggy game, and to continue to make all of our big decisions through gentleness and fairness with rock, paper, scissors. I promise that I will support you, and when I can't, I promise to be
You
down there
know,
on my
I
knees
wanted to
beside you
add
when
some
you fall,
humor and then
praying
depth
for
to
your
it as well. I think it's all about balancing those two things. Just a beautiful shot of them right here. I love this shot. I got it actually handheld and it just was so beautiful. I think at this time Chris was flying the drone. So just sprinkling in, you know, hero shots like your like most breathtaking shots of the couple is a great way to overlay with the vows.
To be the leader of our household. I also promise to tell you when I think you are right. And when I think you are wrong. In a gentle and kind manner, of course. And finally, I promise to never give up. No matter the odds. No matter the reason.
When I saw you down at the bottom of that hill, we were looking at the view, and it was the first time I saw it.
And I love this. You can hear the music's building. And then his best man is talking about when they were standing there waiting for Steph and her father to walk up and how Mike was facing the other direction. And you'll hear him say to Mike, like, oh, you think this view is beautiful? Because Mike was like, wow, this view is beautiful. And then as he was looking out to the mountains, but then his best man was like, oh, you think this view is beautiful? Wait until you turn around. And that just gave me like all the goosebumps, even like, you know, hearing it again, just because I love how that was like the perfect build up to the anticipation he had of like finally seeing her for the first time that day.
I was like, Mike, you think this view is beautiful? Wait till you turn around.
Oh, I love that look that her father gave her. The little lip quiver. You look cute. I loved their whiskey marrying ceremony.
I encourage both of you to continue chasing after God and making Him a priority in your individual lives as well as in your relationships with others.
Chasing after God, yeah, I wanted to have a shot of both of them walking together, and that was like the perfect segue into the reception.
But I promise to be worth it and to let you know that you're worth it too. You are the magic that I have always believed in, that I always will believe in.
I can't wait to see what adventures this life has for us in the future. I love you so much.
Just details of the reception.
Showing up today.
The end.
And now we get into just like some fun highlights of the reception, you know, all sprinkled in through like more raw moments. Oh my gosh, that was such a funny first dance with his mom. It's like some creative editing, speed ramping, you know, just to keep the energy up. And they did. So right here, there was like just this little overlay. If you remember, Mike had said in his vows that one night talking in the Jeep, I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you. I wanted to end with like a very symbolic, just kind of like send off, because their send off vehicle was their Jeep, and showing the Jeep lights, those really signature lights as it fades away into a beautiful landscape that's symbolic to when Mike knew that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. So bringing it full circle again with the Jeep and the location. And so it's just these very, very small, it's these very small details to think about and how you can, bring a story full circle. So that's kind of what I was doing here at the end. And then that's them on the rock at the bottom. All right, so there we have it. I went ahead and talked through this whole video. I hope that this was really helpful in just understanding the way that I storytell. Again, I just want to reassure anyone that's maybe just starting off that to not be so hard on yourself, that maybe your thought process isn't syncing up with the way that you want the story to be told, or maybe like your rough cut, or even your second rough cut is still not to the point where you want it to be as far as the story goes. But in every creative process, this can take weeks and months. So even just a small short video like this can still be very tasking creatively. So I just want to reassure everyone that your creative style, your storytelling style does not have to be this way. This is just the way that I like to put wedding films together. This is my thought process that I like to do as far as storytelling, and how I like to match dialogue with, the B-roll. And this just makes a really big difference, the way that I have evolved in the way that I can storytell and the way that I can match B-roll to dialogue. So like I said, this didn't come overnight. This came with years of practice, and it comes also too with knowing the couple before the wedding day. So linked below, I will have my questionnaires for sale. I'll have both my questionnaires that I send couples. There's one that I send couples right after they book, that they can then really kind of flesh out their story and a little bit more about them. They've already told me more about them, like over a phone call or their inquiry, but this is gonna let me know a little bit more about the hurdles they've been through, maybe any rough patches in their life together so far that they had to overcome together. And then 30 days from the wedding, I always send a 30-day out questionnaire. And this is just more like a wrapping things up type of questionnaire that we're able to just kind of flesh out the details more. And then I use both of those together to define the overall aesthetic and story that I know I'm looking for as I go into the wedding day. Thank you again for watching. I'm going to be putting out more videos like this, especially with storytelling, and I love just going into this new season of life, being a mom and with my own family. Like, this is just something that's really close to my heart right now. So I will be putting out more videos on storytelling and how to edit videos with story that comes first and all of the pretty shots that come second. So yeah, if you like this video, I encourage you to subscribe, stick around, and then hopefully we can continue this conversation in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, maybe how you like to storytell, maybe how you like to do your wedding films. If you want any critiques, maybe in my free time, if you want to link some of your wedding videos down in the comments below, I can go in and, critique a couple of them. So yeah, just let's continue the conversation in the comments, and then hopefully we will chat soon.